Hi guys, today we are looking at the combinations within a Lenormand GT.
Let's go.
I am doing this video for a reason, and it is because I see lots of readers extracting information from a GT but never actually getting to the point of what the GT's about. Never getting to a theme, for example, or never actually truly nailing down happenings. And that's what we want to do with the GT. We don't want to give a general feeling of what's going to happen. We want to nail down events that are going to happen within the timescale set. Now, the confusion, I believe, begins with the basic techniques. And that's because they are basic techniques. They are not the interpretation. They are techniques that we use to extract a baseline information upon which we then interpret and advise our querent what is going to happen. Not what may feel like this, what's going to happen. Events in your querent's life. So you have your basic techniques. You may be somebody who reads the first 3 cards, who reads the corner cards, who reads the line of fate. Again, these are just basic techniques, and if all you are doing is combining the cards together, you will not have an interpretation that is worth anything to your querent. So how do you do it? What you have to realize first and foremost is that the GT is a snapshot of the querent's life in the timescale set. We have to analyze. We're not just reading, we are analyzing the information and the cards where they have fallen. They have fallen in this sequence for a reason. Think of this as a storyboard of the querent's life in the coming timescale. For example, we'll choose nice and easy 8 months for 8 columns. What you need to do first and foremost, you will have been told this, is look for your people significators. So look for your lady for your female querent and man for a male querent. You will actually learn from my box spread video, which I will link above. In the box spread, I discuss significators and where they fall. The same applies for a GT. So the higher up the spread, the more in control your querent is of their situation. And the closer to the beginning of their spread, depends if you read directionally, that's an added bonus on top, but how close they are to the beginning of their spread will tell you how in control they are of their situation in the coming timescale. Mine's sitting right at the top here. She's in control. Her beginning of the spread is over this side. I read directionally and she is looking into her spread at this side. My man would begin at this side and he looks into his spread. So now we have a placement for her at the top, which is halfway through the GT. This shows me already that she has some mountains to climb before she actually gets her stuff in order. But at the top, she will be driving that. So she will be putting everything in motion that she needs to actually ride this timescale out, be in control of this timescale, but with some mountains to climb. If she were at the bottom of the spread, all the cards would have their heaviest influence on her. Ouch! All these good and negative cards bearing the heaviest weight on her at the bottom of the spread. That's too much for anybody to deal with. So the further down the spread, the more difficult the situation is for your querent in the time scale set. And remember, it is just a time scale. We're not looking at the rest of their life. If you read directionally, then the closer to the end of the spread, the more inauspicious or the more difficult the time scale is for them. They have a lot of mountains to climb. The opposite, if they are at the beginning of the time scale looking into their spread, they have the future ahead of them, and it will be a little case of easy peasy lemon squeezy. So up is good, down is not so good, beginning is super, end not so super. If they are exiting their own spread, which means sat in the last line, last column of their GT, then they have the worst possible situation within the GT. But we do not throw the GT away. This is still a future GT. You have laid the intention to see the future for your querent. If they are sat in the last line, it is still their future because you have not asked about their past. These are difficult cards in their future. These are mountains that they have to climb in their future. So I started with that because it is super important to understand these basics, understand where your querent is. Only then can we move on to what everybody calls combinations. And I do this because I don't like that term. The reason I don't like that term is because for me, Lenormand is a language. We are learning not just combinations of cards, we are learning a whole script, a whole, in German we say Wortschatz, which is your vocabulary, which is quite boring in English, but Wortschatz literally means word treasure. So your treasury, your treasure of words for your Lenormand language. If we were just reading combinations, we would, for example, take tower and book and say, oh, longevity and hidden, long hidden. Yeah, it's a little bit stale and is not what the cards are telling you. Yes, you look at their core meanings, but you look how they influence one another. This is a fluid language. Language is fluid. It's not so cut and dry. So we're looking for this infusion of words into your Lenormand language. And we're looking for this infusion of cards to describe the situations that are coming. So you know where your significator is. Now what you need to do is look to the cards that are closest to her or him. Now I am not going to ask you to go around the square and discuss, ooh, tower, scythe combination means this, or scythe bear combination means this. No. We want to look at it as a whole. So take your significator and look to the cards around it. I'm infusing, as you see. And you will see in front of her she has tower. She also has book and then tree at the end of the line. But beneath her she has mice, bear, scythe, mountain and fox. And these cards affect the cards above too, or the cards above influence those below. So you are looking for the infusion of information from all of the cards, not just two combinations. If you look at tower, for example, yes, you look at the cards around it, but you also need to look at the cards around them to explain them. It's not just as simple as adding two cards together. So lady has bear beneath her. Bear is things going super well, but with a side of jealousy. So Bear, close to Our Lady, is a super positive card to have beneath her. Things are going well for Lady in the timescale set, but there will be people around her who aren't so pleased with that situation. Next to it, we have Tower and Scythe, and then Buck and Mountain. So with these cards, remember, things are going well for her, or she feels things are going well because Bear is sat beneath her. She's probably sat above an offer as well, because beneath Bear we have Bouquet. So there are good offers coming in, changes beneath that, and House coming up from the bottom. So in her column alone, we can see that there is going to be an offer coming in. It's sat next to Moon and Star, which shows us that this is a successful offer and it will recognize what she's doing so far. I jump then and look, ooh, look, Ship is sat next to Moon. This is a commercial offer. So this is a commercial recognition for what she's doing, and an offer will come in with it. Underneath Moon is Crossroads, and that shows me that this recognition comes with some choices, some difficult choices for her, because it's sat behind her back. We have Stork and Key flanking the difficult decision. So she's going to have to decide whether she's sticking with the path that she's taking already, or she's going to take a new route with our Stork. So it may be a new offer that's coming in with our Stork. And beneath Crossroads is Clouds. So these crossroads, these decisions are super difficult, and she doesn't know which way to go with them. Did you see how I didn't just take two cards as a combination and leave it as that? I have bopped around and understood how the cards are affecting one another in their placements. So, and that was just leading from Bear. That wasn't leading from anything other than Bear and Bouquet showing me this offer, and I wanted to know what offer it was. So I checked, and I saw Moon, I saw Star, and I saw Ship in the same line. So we already have this closest thing to her is an offer coming in, which is great, but it's going to make some people unhappy. And then as we look into her auspicious cards, so her positive cards, we see Tower and Scythe directly there. So she obviously has some form of contract here, because the cards have confirmed this ending of contract here at the end. And she is working on a long-term project, probably with a company of some description. And we have the Star beneath, the Tower above, the book ahead, publishing company, for example. Mountain could show things taking a while, could show again with Bear there. We have two cards that can show enemies in the mix, especially with Fox. And Fox is stood above the ring, which shows me there's something wrong with this contract. And then we have Coffin next to Ring, showing there isn't an end to a contract, and the Snake beneath showing that there is something wrong with this ending. Cross is causing her grief. So what we can ascertain, because we come back to Stork then and the decisions, we can then ascertain that the offer will come in. There is an offer coming in that will give our querent some options to either go with a new contract or continue working on what she's working on already. And if she decides on the change and going with a new contract, that will come with its own set of problems. And she will then have to decide if she's ending the other contract or how it affects the other contract that she's already working on. And we do foresee an end to a contract that seems innately wrong to her. Now, if you have your querent sat there in front of you, you can actually ask them about their current working situation, because this is very clear to me, a working situation, especially with ship in the mix and contracts. Lily there too, nice. Sorry. So you can actually ask your querent sat in front of you what their current working situation is. Now, if you are working away, distance readings, and doing an email reading, you then have to nail down what contract is ending. You can't just say a contract's ending and not give a reason or say which contract it is. It could be just something small. You want to know what this contract is. So how do we detect that? We detect that by looking again at the information provided within the GT. We don't need to lay extra cards to find that out. If you don't see the answer immediately, why not try your houses? So if we look at ring, we see ring is in house 17. So ring is actually in the house of stork. And we've already discussed these changes or decisions, either to take the contract she's on or take a new contract. Now ring is in this change, a changing contract. The card next to it, coffin, is in 18, dog. This would suggest that there is an end to the contract which she is already loyal to. So she's already on a contract, coffin ends that. And the ring shows her taking the change. She's taking the option of change. And remember, these are all in her auspicious line. So these are all easier cards than if they fell behind. So we can suggest that we can actually explain that she is actually going to take this new change of contract. Another tip when we are looking at contracts and work, I didn't lay this with any intention. This was purely just to explain situations, and it's come out quite well for doing that. A tip when you are looking at change of contract and you are wanting substantiation, which is what we are looking for. We are wanting confirmation of what that change will be. We're wanting confirmation of what an end will be. Don't just say an end. That will upset and worry your querent. Tell them what that end will be. The first thing I actually saw, and it was before I went on my ramble, were the building cards. The reason for that is because we want to substantiate where these contracts are coming from and which one, who with, what is this contract. Don't just leave it at a contract. You want to know who it's from, don't you? You want to know what this contract is, don't we? We don't just want to leave a querent thinking she's going to get a contract. We want to tell her actually what the contract's going to be. So the offer coming in is in the same line as our house. Directly ahead of her we have tower and our side beneath. Tower is sat in an auspicious position and is sat in house of ship. Ship is in our decisions, as we know, and decisions is what we want to do. So she's making a commercial decision. We can say that with ease. And tower is a good option for her. So house, company, tower, larger company. Or tower of the longevity and the long term. So she has that directly in front of her, but she's sat in house, and in the line that she sat in the column that she sat in, she has house at the bottom. Underpinning changes, and she's sat then in house with tower sat in ship, which shows our commercials with tower. But tower sits with side beneath it, difficulties, and then end contracts. So we can suggest that by the mid time scale of your GT, your querent, I haven't even gone into the other stuff, this is just basics, this is just the start of your GT. You would pull a hell of a lot more information in if you were reading this as a full blown on GT. But just as the start, we see this offer coming in. It's the major thing that's going to happen in the time scale because it's the closest to her. She is going to be super fortuitous with this offer coming in, but there are going to be people who aren't so pleased with that. The tower ahead of her then shows me, and house underpinning at the bottom, her satin house, it shows me that this change of contract or this move to take the offer, which is offered to her, she will take the offer. So the offer is obviously coming in from house. So it's coming in from either a smaller company or a family-owned company or a company that she knows well and are good for because houses are successful, everything happening, everything that in our undertaking is going well. So this is a successful company. So an offer comes in from a successful company within her field, house, and she takes that because we have scythe and tower here. So we can suggest, and again, this is just one point of your GT, that she is going to take the contract with house, not tower. So with a successful company within the field that she works, house. I don't know if I helped or made things worse there. What I'm trying to convey to you is that you don't stick within the confines of just doing combinations. Follow the story along. Follow your cards along. If I had just followed the rules, read 3 cards, read the corner cards in combinations, read the bottom row, knighted maybes, I would not have got that information. It's too vague, it's too meh, it's not nailing down happenings within a GT. You need to consider every single card in that GT. If you don't, then you're not doing your querent a service because you can't confirm exactly what's happening. There's so much more in this GT. I can already see where man comes in, for example, who he is and what he is going to be doing in this situation. If you look at the inauspicious items, you can already pick out, starting with 1 and moving along, what the storyline is. What I have given you today is only the minutest detail of what's in that GT. But you extract it by following the cues, by following the cards as they fall and understanding how they influence one another, how they mix and merge into an infusion of language and not just 2 cards together giving you an answer, because it doesn't. I seriously hope that helped in any small kind of way, but think maybe I have made things more difficult. Let me know how you read a GT. This is not how I read a Kipper GT, so if you are hoping for Kipper GT outcome in this, completely different. Gypsy cards too, also very different in the way you extract that information. But what they have in common is that as a reader, you have to analyze. Analyze, analyze, analyze. And only then will you get an interpretation out at the end that will tell your querent something useful. Unhealthy dog, a friend may be ill. Financials go well. Doesn't really give you any information except for a very vague overview, and it doesn't show you how that will influence the querent. I'm sorry, have a lovely week. I didn't mean to go that route, but hey, it is what it is. Have a lovely week, and I will see you on the next one. Leave me a comment if you think I am completely bonkers and you can read a GT just by doing combinations. I am not going to win any friends with this one. Have a good week.